All right, we're back at the self-serve garage today. We're going to be installing the Active Autowerke exhaust system for my BMW F32. I'm here with George, the owner of the self-serve garage, and he can definitely talk about the services he can offer if you're in this area, or can use a similar service in your area. It's a great way to be out of the weather, be safe to have your car up in the air if you don't feel comfortable working with jacks, and they actually offer quite a number of other services as well.
Yeah, here at Self-Serve Garage we offer a number of services, do-it-yourself service. We actually have mechanics on site that can guide you through projects or actually do projects for you. On average, Self-Serve Garage saves you 50 to 70% on vehicle repairs and maintenance, and we do that without even trying. So come on down, we'll definitely save you some money.
Definitely, and if you're in this area, I mean, obviously people all over the world see my videos. If you're in this area, they're a fantastic business to work with. Working with George has been a real pleasure. All right, let's get to the car and get the project going. So the car's up on the lift, and what we're looking at is the front of the car is on this side, the rear car on this side. This is your resonator in the center of your exhaust. So what we're going to do is measure 2.5 inches off of this weld to make the mark of where we're going to cut this mid pipe. So what I also have is a hose clamp that I've already just hung on here loosely. You can back these hose clamps open to open them up completely, and we're going to use this as our cut guide to make sure that we make a nice even cut through this pipe. So we're going to measure 2.5 inches off this pipe, mark it really well, put our hose clamp in place, and then we're going to cut. Make sure that you've got a good blade. In this case, the recommendation is either use a die grinder or a Sawzall. I have a Sawzall that I'm going to use with a brand new blade, so to make a nice clean cut. I also have a metal file as well, that if I end up with any of these cuts that are a little off or a little rough, I can even them out, so it won't be a problem. So I'm going to set this and I'll measure it. Once I have all of this set, and before I cut, I'll show it. Okay, so I've got the clamp on, so you can actually see where the cut will be. We're going to cut on this side, so the muffler side of the cut here. I've put the clamp right on where the 2.5 inch mark would be, and I've double checked. So I've taken my tape measure and I've gone along and made sure that I'm 2.5 inches from the edge of the weld. So I'm going to be cutting on the right side of this hose clamp here, and we'll be cutting this away. So, and just be really careful. There's enough clearance all the way around this that you should be able to cut really cleanly all the way through and cut through the other side. Just be really careful, don't rush it, and make sure that you've got this set up correctly. It's the old, measure twice, cut once kind of deal. So I've gone and I've checked it at all the points I can check that it's 2.5 inches from this lead edge back to the weld, and we should be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, and I'll show you when it's done. Okay, so the cut's done. I've taken the hose clamp off, and as you can see, once you're cut through, you've got a little bit of wiggle out of the exhaust, because this is what keeps it straight, and it's on hangers at the other end. That explains why it moves a little bit. So when you make the cut, like I said, you've got plenty of clearance here on either side. Just be really careful as you cut through. You don't suddenly break through on the other side and cut through your heat shield, or or damage your car in any way. But nice clean cut, good to go. All right, we're now in the back of the car, and we're going to take the exhaust down. So we've got two 13mm nuts for the hangers that hold your muffler in place. So they're on either side. There's a single nut on either side, and you can take them both down. So this is where you're going to want to either find a way, if your car's on a lift, you're going to want to support the muffler as it comes down so it doesn't come crashing down or hanging on one side of that bolt, or have an extra set of hands to help hold it up. The one thing I wanted to point out as well is this is where you're going to want to disconnect the solenoid, and this has one of these typical BMW little pressure clips where you press in on the tab and pull the plug out. This solenoid we're going to reuse and reattach, but we have to unhook it first here before the muffler comes down. So don't let the muffler come down and yank on these wires really hard or break anything. So pull both 13mm nuts on both sides, your muffler will come down, and we'll show the next steps. All right, so the muffler's down, as you can see. This is where we want to need to transfer parts. So the solenoid here needs to come off. These are 10mm bolts that will come off and get transferred here. In addition, these hangers need to come off, and you'll walk these rubber grommets off the hangers here and here, and they'll be transferred here. So you can see the new hangers. They'll attach with the 13mm bolts provided. They'll go in here. The flares, so when you look at this, as the opening in the hanger goes towards the motor side. And when I put these bolts in, I'm going to put these 10mm bolts in a little bit loose. You have a little bit of flexibility in these hangers, so when I do put it up, I can adjust right clearance and spacing. So at this point, I'm going to transfer all these components to the new exhaust. So all the parts are transferred. You can see the solenoid is here on the driver's side extension, which I haven't attached yet, and I'll do that in a moment. You reuse 2 of the bolts from the previous to set up, and you can tell there's 3 holes, but only 2 of them line up with these mounts. These rubber fittings, you would work your way off the originals and press them back onto these new mounts. So you can see the hangers are set, and at this point, it's just a matter of lifting it up into the back of the car and attaching it with the hangers. So I'll show that in a moment. So I was able to hang the new muffler really just one hand at a time. It's pretty light, so I held it up with one hand and then attached, just finger tight, the 13mm bolt on one side, switched hands and put the 13mm bolt in this plate on the other side. So now it's hanging by itself. Obviously it's not aligned exactly right, but this is where you're going to make adjustments off these hangers, because these plates are only going to one place. So get those secure, and then we'll make fitment adjustments off these hangers. We also need to add this extension pipe back up to the resonator. So I still have a little bit of a rough edge in the pipe down there, so I'm going to take my metal file and just very gently, and it's a fine metal file, I'm just going to take some of the rough edges off of all of that so it makes a nice clean fit. So I'm going to clean that up, and then I'm going to put this mid pipe back in. Now, before you do so, make sure you've got hangers on both ends. You'll have to have a hanger on, or excuse me, a clamp on this side and the big black clamp on the other end. It comes with a big black clamp by comparison to the 2 silver ones. The big black one goes on the resonator side. So make sure that those are on your mid pipe before you put it into place, because then you'll have to take it back down and put them back on. So put those on. So I'm going to do that work and I'll show you when I'm done. So the mid pipe is on and it's all connected now. All of these connections at this point, all these clamps are loose, so I can move them. So what I did was I made sure that this mid pipe was on really fully, well past the cut point, and this clamp is in the right position. This mid one is not sitting over the brake yet, but I'll put that in a moment. And then I've also hung this other pipe on this side, or hung the driver's side pipe. So as we look at all of this, I've got my solenoid in place, all the pipes are in place, so my clamps are loose. Now, orientation is going to be, and clearances are going to be really important. So as you look at your various clearances, you've got one all the way back here in the mid-body. So this mid-body brace, so if it's all sitting too low, it could rub there. But if you get too high, it could be rubbing here as well. And then you want to find the right place that it sits in your rear bumper. So I'm going to put the 100mm tips on to help give me an idea of where I want this to sit. Now, the passenger side pipe is fixed, so I'm going to make sure to orient the driver's side pipe in the same angle as the passenger side pipe so they look symmetrical and even. But I'm going to get this all set, and then it's going to be a matter of just kind of pushing up on the muffler to get it into the right position. You have all the right clearances, and then tightening down the nuts here on the hangers in the position that you want to have it in. So it's going to be a little bit of adjustment, a little bit of magic more than science, but I'll show that once it's all done, but we're really close to being done. Okay, so forgive a little bit of background noise. We've got a compressor running in the background. So everything is in and secure, and I want to really kind of walk through every step of what I did. So I changed my approach a little bit. I'm going to walk slowly to show you each component. So I actually made sure that this clamp was seated well and secured it, then walked it back, made sure that this connection was seated well and secured the clamp. And that solidified all these pieces, because I found as I was trying to hang the muffler and align the muffler tips and all that, it kept changing on me. Well, that makes a lot of sense considering that all the mid-pipe sections were still loose. So once those were connected, I could sit and connected in solid, I could sit and work through all the bits and pieces that I needed to work through. The other thing that I did, that I'll try to pan up and show, I've got my level sitting up in the center of the muffler, so I could actually use my level to make sure that the muffler itself was level. So the passenger side tip and pipe is fixed, so I used this as my fixed point. Once it had the right clearance in the bumper and the muffler was level, I could then work independently with the driver's side pipe and align it correctly, get it aligned correctly in the bumper at the right distance, and then and with this clamp being firm but not tight to hold it in place as I made adjustments. So that way I could make adjustments all the way through as I went through the whole thing and I get to this point. You also can use the driver's side to align to the passenger side, because since the passenger side is fixed, you have to align the two together so they look at the same height, same alignment, and everything's lined up straight. So at this point, everything in and everything is done. I've walked through all of my connections to make sure that they're all secure, make sure all the clamps are secure. And the other thing that I mentioned as well is make sure that you still have good clearance here. You're not rubbing against the frame here. You're not rubbing against this mid-body strut here as well. And I'm going to move very slowly, try to pan back the other direction to show from this side. And you can see the muffler's in. All in all, this is a very easy job to do. It's a little nervous to, to cut your existing muffler off, so you got to make sure that you do that correct. So, but other than that, it's really straightforward. You can see my hanger here, which gives you a lot of adjustment room just to get the right height and right everything else. My solenoid here is connected, is installed and connected, so you won't get any error codes or any problems there. And other than that, everything is done. All that remains is to drop the car, fire it up, and hear the note and sound and performance of your new exhaust. Back after a successful test drive, and I'm really pleased with this change. There's a whole new deep mid note to the exhaust, and whenever you change your exhaust, you're going to change how it sounds. And in this case, it's added a deep, real resonant note in that kind of 1500, 1600 RPMs to 2000. I didn't get a chance to hear much beyond that, just with the weather and everything else today, but I'm really pleased from the experience of how it sounds, what a positive change this is going to be, and I look forward to exploring the performance improvements as I have it on the car over an extended period of time. I really want to thank my partners today. Extreme Powerhouse should be your first place you go to check on what you can do and should do for your car to improve that performance. I know that in partnering with them, my car has come a long way from where it was when I first got it, that's for certain, and it's really not hard to do. Thank you to Active Autowerke for making a truly impressive product that was easy to install and something that I feel is really achievable for just the average owner in their garage or in a space where you can get the work done. Thank you again to Self-Serve Garage in Tacoma, Washington. What a fantastic company to work with. The owner, George, is amazing and really an asset to his community. They really give you the ability to use tools, use their experience, and use the lift in a place where you can get in and out of the weather and do work like this much more safely than potentially you could at home, and in many ways faster. They also have other assets there that are available in services through Team Mo Automotive and others that can help you if you're in a place where you need a little bit of assistance along the way, whether a little bit or a lot. They're really looking to reach out and find ways that you can get the work done you want to do, whether it's performance related or maintenance or otherwise. All in all, what a fantastic experience. If you've enjoyed this video, please click subscribe, please click like. If you have any questions or comments, I'll answer anything that I can, and I look forward to seeing you on the next project.